welcome back to the channel. The 2026 season pack for F125 just released this week. New cars, new teams, new physics. New track as well. If you're racing on a controller in F125, you probably know how tricky it can be to stay consistent. I'm definitely still learning and progressing myself, but after tweaking my settings, I've managed to make the car feel much more stable. Here are some of the control, calibration, and force feedback settings for the new DLC that have really helped me improve. First, let's jump into the game's control settings. Under the generic settings, one of the first things I changed was the overtake ERS mode. Switching this from hold to toggle was a huge relief. Now, instead of awkwardly holding down a button the entire straight, I just tap it once to activate and tap it again to turn it off. If you are on a PlayStation 5 controller, look into adaptive triggers. Personally, I find they give a bit more resistance, which helps me feel how much brake or throttle I'm actually applying. Set this to medium. That is the sweet spot. Useful resistance without fatiguing your hands over a long stint. Now, let's open the custom control scheme. To free up some much-needed buttons, I actually unbound the individual look directions. Look left, look right, look forward, and only mapped look back to a button I'm comfortable with. By doing this, we can use the right analog stick for MFD shortcuts, which has been a massive help for my race pace. I set right analog stick left and right to adjust brake bias, and up and down to adjust ERS. Now I can adjust my car's balance mid-lap without opening that distracting MFD menu. For anyone still figuring out brake bias, moving it forward, a higher percentage, generally keeps the rear stable but might increase your stopping distance. Moving it backward, a lower percentage, can help you rotate into corners faster but increases the risk of locking up. Fast driver constantly playing around with this depending on the corner. Next up is calibration. Super important if you find the car feels too twitchy or if you are struggling with traction. Open the test buttons menu and do the following. Flick your left analog stick. Press the throttle and brake all the way to the bottom. If it doesn't snap back to exactly 0 when you let go, or it doesn't go up to 100 when you fully press it, your controller might have some issues. If it is the case, change dead zone and saturation until the input range becomes 0 to 100 again. For most controllers in good condition, set all dead zones to 0. Set all saturations to 0. For steering rate, I used to run mine at 105%. The reason was simple. At the time, my steering linearity was set to 0, which made the center of the stick extremely sensitive. To stop myself overcorrecting constantly, I compensated by slowing the steering response way down. It worked, but it was a workaround. The car always felt a bit sluggish through quick direction changes. Like the car was slightly behind where I wanted it to be. Now I run steering rate at 125%, and the reason I could make that jump is because of the next setting we are about to cover. Steering linearity. I used to have this at 0, and I want to explain exactly why that is a problem, and why changing it made more difference than anything else in this guide. At 0, every tiny movement on the stick maps directly to the same movement in the game. That sounds ideal. In practice, it means the car reacts to every single imperfection in your stick input. Every micro tremor, every tiny overcorrection. All of it goes straight into the steering. That is why I was running steering rate at 105. I needed to slow everything down just to make it manageable. Now I run steering linearity at 30. What this does is soften the sensitivity around the center of the stick, the range where most of your high-speed steering happens. You still get full steering lock when you push to the edge, but those small delicate adjustments in the middle, they are now much more forgiving. And because the center is smoother, I no longer need to suppress the steering rate to compensate. The car now feels exactly where I want it, without fighting me. If you are still experiencing twitchiness after this, try pushing linearity up to 35 or 40. For throttle linearity, set this to 25. This softens the initial squeeze of the trigger, making it much easier to roll on the power out of slow corners without immediately spinning. If you want a more aggressive feel and you are comfortable with the rear end, you can bring this down to 15 or 20. For brake linearity, set this to 20. This prevents instant lockups when you first hit the brakes. Now, let's look at vibration and force feedback. Set your vibration and force feedback strength to 130. Bumping this up slightly has helped me feel exactly when the tires are beginning to slide or lose traction. For on-track effects, set this to 50. This is the most useful feedback channel. It increases vibration as you approach the traction limit. At 50, you get noticeable feedback without it becoming distracting. Rumble strip effects. Keep this around 40 to 50. If you like riding curbs aggressively, you may want to lower this slightly. Too high and every curb becomes a distraction rather than useful information. For off-track effects, set this to 40. When this is too high, the controller shakes so violently on the grass or curbs that it's hard to make precise steering adjustments. Wheel damper. Just leave this at default. This setting matters a lot more for steering wheel users than for controller players. You will barely notice the difference on a gamepad. Don't overthink it. And maximum wheel rotation, set this to 320 degrees. The default can make the steering feel quite lazy. Bringing this down to 320 makes the car feel more agile, and tight corners like the Monaco hairpin suddenly feel a lot more manageable on a controller. A quick habit that has really helped me progress is focusing on straight line braking. I try to get most of my heavy braking done while the car is still straight, and then slowly release the trigger as I turn into the corner. Braking and turning at the same time on a controller is one of the fastest ways to spin. When exiting a corner, instead of smashing the throttle, try to match your trigger squeeze with the straightening of your steering wheel. The car can only use so much grip for both turning and acceleration at once. Give it time to straighten up, then commit to the throttle. If you find yourself wheel spinning out of low-speed corners, try short shifting up a gear early to keep the rear end planted, especially out of hairpins. Staying in a higher gear reduces the torque going to the wheels and keeps everything more manageable. Finding the right settings is a journey of trial and error, but these changes have definitely helped me get more consistent lap after lap. Give these a try. Tweak the numbers to fit your own driving style, and let me know in the comments what settings are working for you. If you're also working on improving your pace, hit subscribe so we can keep progressing together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thumb on throttle. One thumb, full throttle.